Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. Well, let's take a look and see what happens when the temperatures drop down to 24 degrees. The effects, and then we'll see the after effects. Well, it's December 1st, and last night we had nice cool temperatures. I don't know if you can actually see the ice crystals, but you know, if you followed my earlier video, we had covered a lot of the crops. And let's see what happened to the ones that weren't covered up. We have cilantro. Now, cilantro is pretty cold tolerant, and we'll just let you see how it is. It has frost on it, it's cold. We have some carrots. These are my red carrots. You can see how the tops are kind of falling over. We'll look over here. The basil, it's kind of droopy too. Now the thyme, it has no effect. It just looks like nothing ever happened to it, or the chives, or the stray garlic that's in here. The oregano has frost on the leaves. You can see that. The parsley, which it's kind of slow to grow anyway, it's cold weather, it likes a little warmer temperatures. It's looks like some of it may have drooped, but not too much. Now when we get over here, this is the kale, what's left of the kale, and you can see it's kind of drooped. Maybe we need to change angles here. The turnips, they're kind of wilted down. You can see frost on the leaves. The mustard, it's a little wilted. Plenty of frost on its leaves. The red mustard, it's the same way. We'll get over here to the rutabagas. Their leaves kind of wilted. The red Russian kale, you can see it's kind of drooping down too. Plenty of frost on it. Our lima beans, they're kind of seem to be pretty good right now, but we'll see how this goes the next day or two. Our brassicas that weren't covered, we got some cabbage and probably some some cauliflower in here. I think that's mostly cabbage, but you can see how it's wilted down. Or we still have our others covered. We'll see how well the covers kept that part in good shape. Now you can see here our onions. Now a few of them look kind of like they might be wilted down. A lot of them still standing up. But now the tomatoes, it's no doubt all of these will not recover, which is something that I knew. This row will have to be cleaned out because it's just definitely killed them. Our bunching onions are virtually unaffected by the temperatures going that low. And of course our garlic is too. It's unaffected. And of course Gigi, she's unaffected too. In fact, she probably got more energy now that it's really cool weather. But both kinds of garlic, they just handle it just fine. Now all the basil went to seed up here pretty much. The holy basil looks like it's still standing up, but the purple opal basil is kind of drooping down, which it's probably about time just grab the flower heads and collect seeds. The collards are a little droopy, not too bad. And now the sun's starting to melt off some of the ice on the chard. This bright light's chard, but you can see it's virtually unaffected. Same thing with the leek. It didn't really care. The beets, they're kind of wilted. And you can see how that's going. And the broccoli has just a little bit wilted edges on the leaves. It didn't like it too much. The Swiss chard is wilted down a little bit too. Now definitely the kohlrabi have drooped their leaves, so we'll see how they recover after a snap like this. And last but not least are the early grano onions, and they're standing up tall, unaffected by the cold weather. And actually, I guess this is last but not least. In the greenhouse, you can see that the lettuce is pretty much unaffected. My transplants here, which are brassicas and a lot of leek that's ready to go out, are all doing good. I had moved them all to the floor or to the ground so they would get ground heat instead of just being set up. And even though it got to 24 last night, it only got to 31 in the greenhouse. Now we're going to take a look at the garden after the freeze. This has been a little over a week, I think. I'll try to give you exact days. This row here, this was greens that were small. This is the Chinese red leaf mustard. This over here, this is the basil, and it wasn't covered. You can see what happened. Also over there, that's the garlic, which it wasn't covered. But down here, this red leaf mustard, it was covered. And this right here, it looks like this is probably some kale. I'm not sure. It is a green though, mustard or kale. I can't really tell at that state. These here look like turnips, and I think they were planted real sparse. They were under, that other was kale, because this right here is mustard. And then we have 3 different kinds of radishes. And here's our dinosaur kale. It's actually doing good too, but it was undercover. But as far as, we'll show some more over here now. We have these were covered, and I believe this is cauliflower in here. And we have some broccoli. It's at different stages because I had to transplant a lot of times. And some cauliflower right there, and then some more broccoli. Over here we have our strawberries. These are all plants that were propagated. There is one in here that was actually, it's a mother plant that's sitting right over there. But the rest of these were propagated. We're up to 139 total now, where we were down to, I'm going to say 10 or less. But anyway, our broccoli, it survived good, and it is heading. Some small, like I say, they're different stages. They haven't had the best of care where they've been fertilized regular and had a lot of water, so they're doing pretty good considering. But as you can see, we do have a lot of strawberries down this row, and then in here where we had a bunch of them die, we actually took and put in, this looks like some broccoli that's right in here. But these were all under cover when it got down to 22 degrees. Now you can see, out of all this stuff that was under cover, and the cover was pretty close to some of these, and you can see where it got a few of the leaves on here. But as far as no damage to the heads, these are getting pretty close to time to pick. And they've done surprisingly well for being covered that long, but it won't be long. These are about 6 inches or so, 7 inches or so. They're nice big heads there. Now we're going to go to the onions here. Now these onions in here, and you can see how these just don't look good. Now we had planted a few of these and we had spaced some out, but these are red granos, and the reason they didn't do so good was that the lack of moisture when it frosts. And we've had since the 22 degree, we've had probably about 3 more days of frost. It hadn't got that cold. I think 28 one night, but as you can see how it affects them. Now this is some more dinosaur kale that was under cover, and virtually everything's the same way. Now this row over here was not under cover. Now this is collards, and now down here we do have a brown leaf, but this is just a leaf that's dying off underneath. But none of these leaves were affected. This is actually a kale plant that was intermixed in there that shouldn't have been in there. And then we get over here, and some more of these that were under cover. They were these are cabbages, but like I say, they were all under cover. Now on this row, this is our Bright Lights chard. Now this is not dead. It did burn a lot of these leaves, but the new leaves that are coming back are nice and healthy, so it'll do fine. But the big leaves, they got toasted. Kale will take that cold temperature without killing the plant, but it's going to kill all your leaves. As you can see, all these leaves are dead here, but your center leaves are coming back out, because this kind of builds a little bitty bulb, kind of like a beet. Now the leek here, there's no signs of anything for it. Now right here, these are actually, and it's hard to tell from all the leaves, but these are actually beets that are off in here. Now they've never done real good, as far as leaves, but these are about ready to come out and do something, and they're not going to do much better. But you can see how tough the 22 degrees was on this. Now it won't be killed because it'll bring leaves back out, but I want you to know that it was really rough on there. Over here we have some more broccoli. This is that first one was Green Magic. This here is Gypsy. Now the Gypsy wasn't covered, it did show some signs of a little bit of frost damage, but not much. It just barely wilted. Even though it's not one of the most cold tolerant, it fared okay from it. The rest of the beets over here, this is the rainbow chard, which it didn't handle it good. The kohlrabi, they wilted down good. A lot of the leaves got killed on some of the plants, but they're still going. By far, it didn't kill them. The carrots, they're doing fine. No sign of anything. Over here, we have our other onions that are out. These were put out the earliest. As you can see, they're doing fine. Also, these that were small that were put out are doing fine. They're just no sign of being damaged. Now this here is rutabaga. Now rutabaga is cold tolerant too, and it didn't have any covering, but there are a few leaves that I've noticed that did show slight damage. The red Russian kale or the ragged jack kale, unharmed, barely even any wilting, which you can see in the earlier video. It's just didn't. But as we saw that there were problems with these speckled limas, or I think they're similar to a Christmas lima, it has decimated these. But what we're doing is we're letting see if there's enough energy that maybe, and we're picking a few lima beans, and we'll go ahead and harvest the rest of these out. They seem to be still ripening up. This was, or is, small multi-sown leeks. They were unaffected. The red Russian, or the Japanese red mustard here, which we've harvested out, the rest of it, there were a few leaves that were damaged from the freeze, but it fared okay, along with the green mustard. Now the only thing that we see here that on leaves is leaves that are dying. As far as the freeze didn't do anything. Now over here on the turnips though, we did see a little frost damage on these leaves. But as far as affecting the plant to where we're going to have a problem, there's no problem with it. The turnips are still doing fine, and we'll be going from there. Same way with this Siberian kale. This stuff is good and hardy, but we're going to pull this. There might have been a little bit of frost damage to a leaf or two, but as far as no noticeably wilting or anything. But this is it's riddled with a lot of holes in it, and we're just going to go ahead and harvest this out. Over here, these are some of our cabbages and broccoli that's been undercover. These you can see how well they have done, but when you move over to this row right here, you can see that the cold temperatures have really hit them. The leaves have spots on them where they've been damaged by the frost. So as far as to survive 22 degrees, they survive. But as far as to do well at that temperature, they don't. Over here are some more. These were undercover, and we just uncovered these today, and I kind of wanted to get a photo of before and after the freeze and the recovery, so you could see which plants really did recover and which ones didn't. But both these rows were covered. We are expecting some a 29-degree night in a few days, and we'll go ahead and cover them just for added protection, so they don't get burned up. Over here, these are red onions. These onions are doing fine. They are in need of some water. I come down and spray a little bit of water here, but it's supposed to rain tomorrow too, so that will help them out. Now, for our tomatoes, there was no question in my mind that 22 degrees was going to do them in, and it did do them in. But we have been having a lot of the green tomatoes that we pulled off early ripening, so we're going to be eating tomatoes for a while. Over here we have our red carrots, and they are laying over, but they're laying over because I just watered them just less than 30 minutes ago, but the freeze, no effect on them. The cilantro, as you can see, the freeze has no effect on the cilantro. So you can kind of get an idea what's going to take the cold weather and what won't. We have some parsley down here. Now, this parsley was planted late. Parsley is normally likes warmer weather, unlike cilantro likes cooler weather. But as far as the freeze, it did show a little damage, but not much. We have some oregano here. The oregano, even though they're small, they didn't have any problem with the freeze. Now our lemon basil, I've clipped a bunch of seed off of this, but you can see the basil definitely wouldn't take that temperature. But the chives, of course, there's a stray garlic that got into this bed. They've done fine, and our thyme is just as strong and as healthy, still going. We come around here into the greenhouse. We had moved all our plants on the ground. Now I have had a little bit of problem with some of my brassicas that's here. These were some extra ones, and that's part of it's not watering them good. But our small leeks that need to be put out, they're doing good. Some of our others, we have some kohlrabies here, and some red cabbage and stuff that needs put out. Now, these over here are romaine lettuces, and as far as cold weather, and hadn't affected them. And this is a parsley. Now, this parsley's been in the greenhouse, so you can see how much healthier. It was actually maybe just a little smaller than the ones that were put outside, but I put it in here to see the difference in the way it would go. Now, these are radicchia right here. They're doing good. I have a couple different kinds of salad mixes in the middle here, and as you can see, all of them are fine. They're starting to get hold now. And we have some more radicchia down this side, and the same with it. It's all doing really well. So the cold weather, even though it polytunnel or a greenhouse that's not heated, has very little effect on keeping your frost and stuff down. You might keep a little more moisture in there, which will keep from having quite as much problem with frost. Now what I wanted to look at here, these beets, some of them multi-sown, some of them ain't, some of them just single. But these beets were under cover, and you can see just how well they survived. It would look like it hadn't even got cold. These are golden beets here. And then as we go on down, we get into some dark red Detroit beets. And they're all doing good. In fact, they're doing better than the other beets that were planted up yonder. So they're just starting to make little beets. It'll be a little bit, but they're really going strong. Now I did plant some fennel down here, and it did good. And this right here is Bright Lights chard, and as you can see, the frost didn't affect it at all with a row cover. And these are the bunching onions, and definitely the clover likes to grow in cold weather. Now these onions weren't covered, and of course clover wasn't either, but definitely I need to get to weeding that area. But these onions, and part of these are kind of shaded by the greenhouse, but they still tend to be doing okay. And of course our seed onion, it looks like possibly the frost might have got some of these, but I don't really think that that was from the frost. But they're definitely not going to die. They'll continue to come on. I hope this video was really helpful to you and helps you to understand how cold weather affects a lot of the plants. I do follow some other channels, and they said that their temperatures didn't get that low as they did here, and they had a lot of stuff die. But I know that I actually have a thermometer out here, so I know how cold the temperatures get, and it's very possible that unless they had a thermometer that takes and records and keeps track of the low temperature for that day, then it might have actually got colder than they thought. But anyway, with this before and after, it'll give you an idea, and plus it gives you a good idea of how simple row covers. And these were 1 ounce fleece that I put on here, and I can put a link to the supplier where I got them, even though I'm not affiliated with them, but I will link you because it seemed to be a good place to get them. They have a quality service. If there's a problem with your order, they actually get on the phone and call you. They don't send an email or something that you might miss. They make sure that they get it handled quickly. But anyway, if you like this, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, share it for your friends, and of course subscribe and hit that bell button. Happy gardening.